What is going on, everybody? Primetime Fitz here. So, as we've talked about before, I usually have these videos with vets that are coming into Prime, and today is no different. We have Steve Pressley with us. So, to say hi to the camera.
Hello. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm kind of new to this. Hi, I'm Steven. Served in the U.S. Army. I was at 88 Mike, stationed out of Fort Carson, Colorado. And yeah, just got into trucking. Something I should have done a while ago, but had my reasons not to get into it right after the military.
So, we've had, especially whenever it comes to military side, we know that there's a lot of veterans that transition out of it, that go back and forth. They jump jobs.
Yeah.
And as well as we know, especially, it's kind of hard to transfer from the job that you were doing in the military. It almost seems like there's a smooth transition to where that's supposed to be the job that you want, that you end up doing whenever you're actually out here in the civilian sector. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily translate. And for different reasons and everything like that, like for instance, like whenever I got out, that my natural transition was to go to law enforcement.
Yeah.
And as we can tell from my video, this is not law enforcement. So, but I mean, I did transfer to law enforcement initially, and it was a good fit. It felt like a natural fit. But the thing was that I also did, as soon as I got out, I actually ended up becoming a kind of like an apprentice electrician through Mid-Dell schools, which basically I was a glorified bulb changer. I learned to change ballast and everything like that, but for the most part, it was like, hey, you're tall, change that light bulb. So that's the way that it ended up being on that. So, I mean, it was what it was. Mm-hmm. But transitioning over into law enforcement, I think I was looking for that same
camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly. Try looking for that same type of camaraderie.
Yeah.
Try to look at, because I mean, that's one thing that we crave, especially whenever it comes to military side. And anybody who's been military can tell you that it is very much a brotherhood.
It is.
And that brotherhood is very much, it's very, very tight. And when you get out and that, you want to try to transition to a place to where you have that same type of brotherhood, or it doesn't end up being that good of a transition.
Yeah.
So it kind of messes with you on a couple different levels like that. But me personally, whenever I came to Prime, I think I found that camaraderie, that type of brotherhood of what I was looking for, what I craved. And so, and to get, as we know from previous videos, I joined the military in 2006. My main motivating factor was 9/11, because I can vividly remember everything about it from when I was in 8th grade. I can remember every little thing about that day.
Yeah. And
that was my motivating factor. And I know sometimes that's different for different people. Now, what was necessarily your motivating factor?
Well, I was in kindergarten when 9/11 happened, and I remember they wheeled in.
Damn.
For those of you that are as old, as my age, about his age, you remember the TVs that they would wheel in your classroom? Well, I think we just got done taking our nap, and they wheeled in a TV, and everyone remembers how graphic 9/11 was on the news. They didn't censor anything, and 7-year-old me just watching planes come into a building, that just kind of I didn't really understand what's going on. But my father was a Marine, went into private contracting work, and literally that next year he was gone, and I pretty much didn't see him for 2 years. So that was kind of where I got my main motivation. I wanted to be just like him. I had finished high school early. 2013 rolls around, I start my enlistment process. I'm off to basic, enlisted to be an 88 Mike, truck driver. Ironically, go figure. And I got attached to an armored unit out of Fort Carson, deployed. Basically ran logistics convoys, would resupply guys. I was their lifeblood, because they would be out sometimes places where not always a helicopter could get into. Anybody familiar with northeastern Afghanistan knows exactly what I'm talking about. We'd run these routes, mainly from Bagram, Kabul, out to north of Mazar-i-Sharif, sometimes near the Pakistani border. And I knew those roads like the back of my hand.
That's one thing, yeah. I can say like the other back of my hand. It's just it's not like your backcountry road.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not anything like it. It's
road.
And I'm sure you've heard this comparison before, and you guys watching probably that have been there know exactly what I mean. It's a very beautiful country. If they would just stop shooting, I think that's actually I quoted that from Referral. They said it almost looks like a winter sports paradise.
In a way, it almost can. It has kind of a northern New Mexico, Colorado kind of look to it. Almost kind of like a high desert deal. Now, and I've had it especially with guys that were over there and me and them having me go to California, especially going on I-40, going around New Mexico, Arizona, especially up in the Flagstaff area. Yeah. They're like, wow, I didn't realize how much this looked like Afghanistan. Because I mean, that's the thing. Like with like Iraq was just nothing but dirt. Dirt and dirt, dust. It's just dirt.
Yeah, it's the funny thing is most people think Afghanistan is just like Iraq. It's like maybe like Kandahar a little bit, but the rest of the country's mountainous. It's not at all. It's not a flat desert.
I mean, you have to deal with snow. You have to deal. I mean, I've also heard like they deal with rattlesnakes. They have to deal with a lot of that stuff. So
infamous camel spiders. I'm sure.
Yeah, shoot, man. I know guys with camel spiders, man. Those things were like there were so many videos and like photos that came out about the damn camel spiders. But so by the time that you had joined, how long was it before you were in country?
I got to my unit and literally 2 months after in processing, they were like, all right, you're going overseas. Went to RFI, got my deployment gear, and met my unit over there. I was in country probably a week before I basically landed in Bagram, and they were staging stuff, and they're like, all right, well, you're going to be going up to this area, and loaded me up. And that was my first experience being in a combat zone. And I'm not going to lie, I'm sure most of you felt the same way. I didn't know what to expect. I expected, immediately to be taking fire, this and that. That wasn't the case. It was actually oddly calm, which kind of freaked me out even more because I just felt like, okay, when's it coming? And I had that anticipation.
Right.
And that first time that we took fire, I literally, I kind of froze up for a little bit, but after I got over that initial shock, I just went in and did my job. The biggest concern was IEDs, VBIDs, people walking out on the road. The difference between trucking in the military, and you guys will understand this, and trucking in the civilian world is you have to stop for people that go in the middle of the road. You can't just clear through them. If they throw themselves
it's just kind of like that way. It's kind of you're walking in the middle of the highway. It's kind of like, well, you can't stop. So I mean, there's that side of it that I understand. Like you're not like whenever you're driving down Main Street, USA, on a lot of these different roads that we go on, you're not having to look for specific vehicles. You're not having to look for
wires in the road,
like wires in the road, or trash piles or something that you're not having to look for that exactly. And you're not having to look for all that stuff. So I mean, in that sense, it makes it a little bit more easy. But yeah, there's like mom and dad who walk in front of you in Main Street, USA, and you're expected to stop.
Exactly. So it's not like that. And also, I will say to any 88 mics out there that are watching this, it's not like the ball hitches. So completely throw that out your mind, because I came in here going, I already know how to do this, and found out very quickly, not the same.
How many times?
Not the same.
There's so many. I've had so many flipping people, whether it be from people that were like they grew up. So sorry about that. A little interruption. We had to take a phone call. Mr. Popular over here. So we had to take a phone call. But we're talking about like the differences, and with 88 mic guys that are coming over here to truck drive in the real world, outside of the ball hitch deal, and outside of the fact that you guys can actually drive vehicles that all 8 of the name tires move, this is something, meaning steering. This is something it's kind of completely different, but it's kind of in the same.
Yeah. Because you have to take wide angles, whether it's a HEMTT, LMTV, heli. I mean, any wheeled vehicle in the military. All you guys know that you can't just turn because you've got all this behind you, and if you do that, which there was actually an incident on Fort Carson, and props to anybody that knows what I'm talking about. They had a guy back up a fuel tanker and completely crushed the front end of Suburban because they didn't see it. Mainly because they didn't ground guide, and they also weren't checking their mirrors. But
I bet you that was on YouTube or Facebook.
I'm sure it made it on US Army. I think it actually made it on US Army WTF moments.
Yeah.
That would have been about 4 or 5 years ago now. So if anybody was on that page,
doubt that. Yeah,
it was a Chiefs too. It was a CW3's Suburban.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the coming out here. So whenever you got out, what jobs did you actually go do first?
When I first got discharged, I was medically forced out, medically retired. When I got out, I did security work for a nightclub in downtown Colorado Springs just because that's where I got out of the military. So I hung around Colorado Springs for a little bit. Actually got my abatement license and thought demolition and asbestos would be fun because I still had a lot of pent up anger and I thought breaking things would be fun. It was. And then I got tired of swinging an 80-pound sledgehammer, and as you can see, I'm a small frame built dude, so swinging a big sledgehammer all day, everyone's like, great workout. Nah, not for me. So
it's like Skeletor, no smash.
But you would have think after that I would have gone into an easier career. No, next thing I chose was commercial diving. I went to IDI, which is now a defunct school thanks to COVID. It was a Navy run. It was a veteran run school, actually ran by a Danish Special Forces ex-Navy diver. Ex-Navy divers were in there.
Is that the one that was out of Seattle?
Charleston, IDI.
Okay, so that's one of Charleston. I know whenever I was up in station in Bremerton, they had that commercial.
Yeah, DIT. In Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep. So I went to IDI on the East Coast, and the whole reason I chose that school and that profession was I was going to a veteran-owned school, which I'm very big on going to veteran-owned businesses, supporting, and being around other vets. I don't want to go to another civilian company like the past two because I couldn't be myself. I had to basically simmer down, and I couldn't express who I was or make jokes because they took it the wrong way.
And I mean, the thing is about it, and even not to say that civilian-run companies are necessarily bad. That's not. It's not what we talk about. But the thing is, as much as we know, especially when it comes to the veteran community, we're very, very tight. Yeah. So especially whenever it's a veteran-owned company like what Prime is, especially with Robert Lowe being a Marine Corps veteran, that is, it's kind of within the same family. You feel, I know what I felt like, especially whenever I came here, I felt more at home. I felt, talking about that camaraderie and everything, I felt that camaraderie whenever I came here. I felt more camaraderie here than what I did with the police department. And normally people don't think that that's the case, but I mean it was like that with the police department. It's like it was different, and even like with corrections, it was different than what it was in the military. This one here is about as close as what I can. It's almost identical to what I had in the military when it comes to like the brotherhood side.
Exactly.
So you said that we were talking about earlier. Said that there was the medical force out. Like what was up with that? You said that. You got the old Purple Heart, got the good old mark there.
As you all can see here, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but from about my wrist to my elbow, and then on the other side of my arm about my wrist to my elbow again. Good old Al-Qaeda got me. We'd hit a roadside bomb. My TC, unfortunately, was KIA instantaneously, and a piece of the truck went through my arm and was lodged into my arm, and I had to be medevaced out. To anybody that's ever experienced a VBID or an IED and has gotten through it unscathed, you were extremely lucky. And honestly, I wish I could say that was the only one. And the day that had happened, I'd actually gotten complacent. Not so much there was anything I could do. There's not much you can do with a 600-pound roadside bomb. But I was complacent in the sense that I should have been more situationally aware. And because of that incident, which led to me being eventually processed out, I was actually not a phobia, but I was afraid to drive a large vehicle on the road because I didn't know how I was going to react. Because anytime I got even on public transportation or bus, I was always looking out the windows, looking for stuff on the street, and I felt like I was going crazy. For the longest time, I did admit I had PTSD. I was like, no, there's guys that have missing limbs, WMPTs, they have it way worse. I don't need to say anything. And then it got to the point where I couldn't get on a large vehicle without shaking, getting my palms getting clammy and sweaty. And it was just a really bad place. And it took me a couple of years to get through that. And anyone out there still struggling with that, just know that there is a silver lining, and just always keep charging forward. Don't quit.
Well, it's also the thing is too, you have access to a network of people that are here for you. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, transitioning out of the military being hard enough as it is, to transition out of it and have a combat related injury, is completely different. It's more intense, and the thing is, and what I've talked about this on previous videos. It's hard to turn off what the military put in.
Yep.
So when you go into the military, obviously with boot camp, they're going to break you down. That's what they do. It's going to break you down, but they're going to build you back up. Unfortunately, when you get towards the end, they don't take out what they put in.
Yeah. No.
So you're having to transition back into civilian, and that's why whenever you encounter some veterans and they seem kind of standoffish, they seem like it's like they don't want to talk to you, and it's a different type of and it's not to say that they don't necessarily want to talk to you, but it's just more so of muscle memory. You're having to go back to the military side of it. Like, for instance, I can't sit in a restaurant without actually facing a door. I have to be up against a wall. I can't have people behind me. It's that kind of deal. It's a muscle memory deal. I can't ever get rid of that. I've tried. It's just, it makes it extremely awkward.
Yep.
But that's why the transitioning out of law enforcement, truck driving is a great job to come into, especially when it comes to prime. You have connections out here. You have other veterans that have gone through similar situations, and it's easier to go through those situations with your brothers than what it is to go through it with someone who doesn't know what you had gone through, and they just look at you like you're weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that sense, come out here and it's like, you're not going to regret it.
Yeah.
But, so you got, blowed it. So, had that whole deal, got processed out. Then, like you said, you got medevac. I know you probably spent some time with Walter Reed.
Yep.
Got out. And so the decision to come to prime, where did that come into play?
Honestly, my biggest decision coming to prime is first I was being very analytical, and everyone in the military, you understand what I mean. You don't just go with the first thing, because most of us were those brand new privates, brand new sailors, Marines, whatever, and they try to sell you that car 17%, and you've never bought a car. You're like, oh, that sounds great. We all know now that is a horrible decision. So because
of new soldiers or new sailors, oh my god.
Yeah. So
it's always the car dealership that's just off base or just off post.
With that 2006 Camaro that's like 17%.
Oh yeah, it's a great deal. Whenever come in, like, hey, me too, come check this out. Like, I got this. Yep. I got this brand new Camaro. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, I got it for a steal. What'd you get it for? Oh, I only have to pay $600 a month. Yeah. Okay, considering how much money you get paid a month. Okay, he's like, yeah, it's gonna be for 72 months. Okay, and it's like, okay, then what about the APR? Like how that? He's like, and the APR, he got me a really good deal. 18% APR. No, we're gonna go. This is like, you serious, man? Do you not math? Yeah. So I mean, there's those predatory lenders. I mean,
it's funny because it's always a Camaro. I don't know what it is.
If
you're one of those guys, I'm sorry, but why a Camaro? Like, you all choose a Camaro.
In Oklahoma, it was a truck.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, in Oklahoma, it was the fancy truck. It was the truck with the lifted, with the tires, with the exhaust, with the new sound system and everything like that. Because what they did was, they'd buy a brand new, or they'd get the new truck to come into like these establishments, these dealerships, and they turn around and put like another like $8,000 into the truck with lift and tires and everything like that. And all they do is pass that on, because the guys that think, oh, that's got the lift kit on, I don't got to put it on there. Yeah, but you're getting charged $8,000 to $9,000 for a lift kit that you could do for like $1,200.
That, and they buy a new truck, and then a week later they find out they're deploying. Now it's going to sit for almost a year or some way in a storage lot, and you're paying on something you're not even using. Yeah,
or they get a divorce and the wife takes the truck. Yeah. So I mean, this is anybody I know, the veterans that are watching right now, especially the guys that were supervisors, E5s, and just like we're like, oh my god, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But and the funny thing is, if they keep that car, they will keep that car until they're like an E8 or E9 and they've just finished paying it off.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's those situations. But I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of that stuff because, I mean, it was...
Oh, I am. But luckily mine, where I was stationed in Colorado, we had hail. So it was really easy. Every year you could hail out a car every year. So I got out of mine because it got totaled. And I purposely parked it outside. I was like, make sure the most hail hits this vehicle because I'm done with it. So...
But anyway, so like I said, going into Prime, everything like that. So you contacted Prime. How'd that whole process go?
Actually, it took 3 times to get a hold of a recruiter. I'm not even gonna lie.
Really?
And I called the first time during business hours because I was making sure. Cause sometimes I'm the type of person, if I get the idea I want to do something, it could be 2 a.m. and I'm researching. Let me make a call now. I'm like, oh wait, no one's awake right now. I'm the one. So I called twice, left a message, didn't call back. Finally, it was like the next day or the next evening, I got a call and I didn't recognize the number. It said Pittston, Pennsylvania. So my recruiter's Heather Vinsko, shout out to you, out of Pittston. And she actually told me, she's like, yeah, just submit this, get your permit, get your DOT physical, which by the way, anybody's stressing a DOT physical, it's simple. It's literally go in, most clinics have them, yeah.
Also, by the way, because you're special like that, you don't have to call the number. There's this fancy thing called the internet. It's called driveforprime.com. You guys will see it in the description. Driveforprime.com. It brings you to the application. They end up getting the applications quicker than what they do the phone calls.
Oh, well, maybe that's why.
So there's your, figure, aren't you going to mess it up? And he's the younger of the one. How is the guy that the older guy is telling you that's like, hey, the internet is what you're supposed to use. Driveforprime.com. But anyway, so you're the application, you go through the DOT physical, you got to get your drug test, all that other stuff.
Permit, you got the pass permit test. Go ahead and also, most people, I'm surprised people came here, get your tanker endorsement. Come here with your tanker endorsement. That will save you a lot of time. Some states are more picky. I can only speak for South Carolina. Luckily, it transfers. Some states you can't get your endorsement until you have a full CDL, so I can't speak on that. But definitely, if you can, get it. It's like $2 or $3 to throw an endorsement on there and take that test. And it's only like 15 to 16 questions, I think. After that, it was just pretty much the long wait for coming to orientation.
How long was your wait?
Like 4 or 5 days to a week. I think it was a week. A week from the time I landed in Springfield. Also, if you cannot afford, a lot of people, I know I was worried about it. How am I going to get there? If you don't have a car, or if you're like me in my situation, I was literally transitioning from a really rough patch, so I had nothing. They will bus you out on a Greyhound. They will get you the ticket. But if you can find a flight to Springfield under $340, this is directly coming from recruiting who told me this. If it's under $340, you buy the ticket, but they will reimburse you. And yes, they will reimburse you. They won't reimburse you right away, but you will get that money.
I know eventually, like it was, whenever I first did it, mine, because I mean now it's like we're, especially with the surge, especially when it comes to truck driving, there was a big surge for truck drivers, everything like that, because people saw president behind the wheel of a truck and they're like, oh, I want to do that, honk honk. But whenever I first went in, I just submitted the application, and within I swear within 5 minutes I got a call, and I was like, wow, okay. So I was like, hello, and they're like, oh yeah, this is such and such with Prime, and I'm like, Prime Inc. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I just clicked send. I'm like, how the heck did you guys get it so dang fast? They're like, no, we see it and we read through it. How the heck did you read through it?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we read through it, and we see you're a veteran. Like, thank you for your service. Which everybody from the point here, like, they'll all be thank you for your service and everything like that, which is awesome.
Quick question, not to cut you off, but when I first got out, I always felt weird when someone said that because I didn't respond. So I started just saying thank you for your support. I know some people say different things, but it kind of put me on the spot, especially saying it around public. It's not that I was ashamed of it, but it was just kind of like, why am I being singled out? Like, I get it, they're appreciative, but at the same token, it's like sometimes as veterans, you guys understand, we just want to fly under the radar.
No, it's more so, it's like, they're always saying thank you for your service, and I was always kind of, well, thank you. And it's like, I don't think thank you is like the thing to say whenever someone says thank you. So I saw that. Actually, I read it in a book. I think it was either I think it was Matt Best's book.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Thank you, or thank me for my service, or thank you for my service kind of deal. And it was more so of like, hey, it was saying exactly that. Thank you for the support.
Yeah.
And it was awkward initially because like you'll get this kind of stuff in passing as you're like coming out of a grocery store, or you're grabbing something to eat, and someone will say thank you for your service, and you're just like, thank you for your support.
Yeah.
So it's that side of it. But like, go back to what we're talking about with the she calls and I say, and I was like, she's like, well, when can you be up here? And I'm like, well, what are you telling us? Like, how far, how long?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this time I still had to give my 2 weeks notice with the department. And they were like, can you be up here this weekend? Mind you, this is like Wednesday. And I'm like, no. They're like, well, we can get you a Greyhound. I'm like, let's push for like, can we push for like next week? And they're like, oh yeah, we can do next week. And I'm just like, okay, I've never had that. Any job that I've ever applied for was at least a 6-month hiring process.
Yeah.
To where it's just kind of like, bam. And I'm just like, sure, I'll be there. But I had to ride a Greyhound, which I know probably, eventually, I'm sure we probably will still go back to the mass transit kind of deal. I'll tell you what, like the Greyhound deal, like that was the only part of my entire process that I did not like very much. And it wasn't even that long of a drive. Because at the time, they didn't even give me an option where I could bring my vehicle.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, and now it's like they give you the option where you can bring your vehicle. But the thing is, wait, let the recruiter tell you that you can bring the vehicle. Because right now we have so many vehicles that are here at Prime that it's getting hard to try to find parking spots.
And not only that, but if you're going to be here, if you're someone that's a hard charger and you're going to get through training and you're not going to go back home and you're going to go right into TNT. Now you've got to worry about your vehicle here. Just leave it where you're home, because if not, then you're going to be stressing about that. You need to be focusing on learning your job, not
right.
The status of your vehicle.
But I will say this, like, if the vehicle is here, it's going to be safe.
Yeah.
If it's in long-term parking, it's going to be safe. It's not going to be messed with. Heck, it doesn't even get messed with by Prime. As long as you got your parking permits on it, you're not going to get messed with. So you have peace of mind whenever it comes to that.
Yeah.
So you applied with them, you got approved, you got here, like you said, you probably flew.
Yep, I flew from South Carolina, got picked up by a shuttle from the airport. They brought me straight to campus, and they'll stick you in one of the accommodations in the air. There's quite a few.
There's quite a few. Like normally, like the end all be all normally is campus.
Yeah.
The next one that they'll go to right after that is, if there's room, is at the Oasis, which is where we're at right now. And then there's also the Lamplighter, which Lamplighter is just right down the road. I think we still sometimes do the Econo Lodge. It's across the street.
They got some people at the Econo Lodge, and then today I saw them drop off someone at, I can't remember the name of it, but it's across the street too as well. It's the one that's next to the Econo Lodge.
Oh, okay.
Smaller one.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But again, there's several different places, and don't worry, you're not going to have to pay for these locations. Prime covers your room and board, even for orientation. You're still going to get meal cards. But how did your orientation go?
My orientation went good. I will say, and this is something that, and I think Ms. V will appreciate this. If you're coming here for orientation, come here with the mindset that this is a working interview. You're interviewing this company, but they're also interviewing you. Be on time. Everyone here is over 21, obviously. If you want to drive a semi-truck, you have to be over 21. So hold yourself accountable. And I'm not just saying this because it was a really big issue, but 2 or 3 people didn't make it through orientation just because of not being on time. And that's a stickler that I know a lot of people have problems with. Just wake up, do your thing. It's only 3 days, and then you're into PSD phase, and you get someone like this guy.
Look, you're coming to a job that requires you to show up on time for an appointment. You're coming to a job that we have these relationships with these customers that you have to show up on time. Show up on time. Show up on time. Show up on time. that is the quickest way for you to get on this company's bad side. Is if you are late to a shipper or receiver, you're delivering that product late. That is the quickest way to get underneath their skin. And if you end up being a liability as opposed to an asset, they're going to cut you loose and say, Audi 5000, my friend.
And to piggyback off what Sean's saying is, yes, be on time, but also you're going to hear safety. And a lot of people, I've heard them in the halls, I've heard them in the classrooms. Well, how am I supposed to be on time if it's going to be late? Safety always supersedes time. But if it's the middle of summer and you're driving through Kansas, you should have no problem getting on time, because unless there's a tornado freak storm that comes in, you should have no problem. It's also just trip planning.
I mean, there's wind and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's aspects to that, but the side of it is too, though, communication is crucial. So if I'm communicating with dispatch and I'm telling them, hey, that this is like there's wind and you're telling them you're going to shut down, Prime will pay you to shut down. All you have to do is call them and let them know, and they'll either have to readjust the appointment, but it's not going to be on you. Now, if there's no wind and nothing like that, but you're saying, oh, there's wind and they catch you lying, that's a difference. That's a different scale. But I mean, if it's snowing, if there's high winds, if there's rain, you are the captain of your own ship. If you decide that it is not safe for you to proceed, all you have to do is translate that to dispatch, and you will be covered.
Yeah. But to also answer Sean's other question, the meals, to all my guys out there, as the cadence goes, they say that the chow in the Army is mighty fine. I'm gonna leave it at that. And now, I'm just kidding. The Millennium, the cafeteria, because you guys will be able to use the cafeteria at campus I would consider that a DFAC, straight up. Yeah. But once you get your green badge, once you make it through that orientation and you're gonna start going to the pad and you gain access to Millennium Building, that place is amazing. I would say that it is they go above and beyond. There is anything and everything edible that you could put in your face hole that is in that building. And guess what? It's cheap. Don't go out and be these people, because they're going to give you $200 a week. It's a loan, but they're going to take it back $25 after that. But that's not that big of a deal, because you need to eat. If that $200 a week, if you eat at Millennium, you'll have money left over. I have money left over.
Right.
There's no way to. Yeah, exactly.
Just being smart about it, but you could also go to Walmart. You can get some cheap stuff and everything like that. And the biggest thing is that $200, and they'll stress this during orientation, is for food.
Yep.
This deal is not so you can send money back home to the wife and kids. Believe me, we all have bills.
Yep.
And but the thing is about it, that food is for you, especially whenever you go out on the road. Now, there are two different types that you might end up staying here and you get trained on the pad, or you might go over the road. Over the road is a little bit more expensive whenever you're going out there with the food and everything like that. So you have to be careful with it. Yep. But food-wise, facility-wise, Prime is head and shoulders above any other company.
Spectacular.
It's
the amenities is amazing.
You have a basketball court, you have a theater, you have all these different accommodations, you have bunk rooms, pool tables, anything that what a driver could want to be comfortable and considered a home away from home. Prime does have that.
Yeah, and I will say, to piggyback again on something else he said, that theater, A1. I have utilized it quite a bit when I had nothing to do or got done studying. I went straight up there because it's free. The washer and dryer is 75 cents to wash, 75 cents to dry. Find me a washer and dryer anywhere else that's cheap. You won't. I promise you, because I've looked.
So we got into, you got through orientation. You got paired with me. How did Hey, last time I checked, you would have trifecta if somebody didn't want to come in on that first cone. If you want to do what I tell you to, you'd be fine. Yeah. But so on the side, so you're gonna get a trainer and everything like that. And when it came to like instruction wise, what would you say is like one of the big deals? Like, not even just say like someone got me as an instructor. What would something be that you would tell them? Like, what's some like advice that what you would give a student up and coming to help an easy transition to get their license?
What's going to make your time here the easiest and the easiest flow through PSD, and you're not going to be one of those guys running around stressing, freaking out about not knowing this, not doing that, or falling behind, as Sean says famously, behind the bell curve. is study, don't cram. Do not do that with this. It's a lot of information at first. When they hand you that pre-trip packet, you're going to look and be like, how am I expected to remember all this? Mm-hmm. Take it one section at a time. Trust me, you're going to have 3 or 4 days where you can just solely worry about pre-trip. Don't even worry about backing yet. Just focus on that. What I would do, and this is just my advice, everyone's different, but I would read a section, just read it over and over again. At the end of that day, they're going to introduce this app called Prezi. They'll talk about this when you guys start your PSD classes. Prezi. Use that. Don't look at the answers and just look at it, so that way you don't have to physically be at a truck to associate words to things. Because I'm one of the type of guys, I got to physically touch something and say it. So when you get out to the pad for the first time, don't be afraid to get your paper dirty. My paper's got oil and grease on it because I was reaching out, touching stuff and going through, because it gets you in that habit of knowing where it is, pointing it out, which, by the way, just hint, you're going to need that for your test. And it'll help. It'll put that memory, because you're associating something physically and saying it. I don't know about you, but that helps me tremendously.
What about like listening to your instructor?
Yes, that's another important one. Listen to your instructor. Listen to your instructor. Listen to your instructor. Don't listen to anybody else's instructor. Listen to your instructor, because that will mess you up quicker than anything. Yeah. Your instructor, whether it's Sean or something, they have a specific way, and they know how to get you in that hole, in that box. Yep. Every time, if you listen. Me, and I'm going to use myself as an example because I did it. I didn't listen. I started overthinking, and guess where that led me? I didn't get it done.
But the thing is, you got it done. You just didn't get it done the first time.
Exactly.
So the thing is about it too is it's not. Everybody comes in here with the preconceived notion like they have to get this. They have to get a trifecta. They have to get a trifecta. Yeah. A trifecta is basically when you pass all your tests the first day. The thing about it is that trifecta is not that big of a deal. It's not like if you don't pass the first day that you're going to get sent home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not the case. That's not what they're going to do. You're going to come back, and like what it was with him, 48 hours later, you're going to test again. And the only reason it ended up being 48 hours is because the New Year's and everything like that. So you're going to retest again. It's not that big of a deal. Everybody comes out here and say that failure isn't an option. No. Failure is an option. It can totally happen. So the thing about it is how you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move forward. Adapt, improvise, overcome. Yep. That's all of what you have to look at it as. Mm-hmm. But now you have your license. It's got to feel pretty good, don't it?
It does. It feels really good. And honestly, I haven't felt this excited, this motivated, and this involved in a career move since I was in the military. And that's saying a lot for me, because I've held licenses in 7 different states in the last 5 years. I mean, I was bouncing all over the place trying to find something to stick, willing to move, drop everything. And another big reason why I came to trucking is I realized that I'm pretty much a nomad type. I love moving around. I have no problem without not settling down. I don't have anything tying me down, so that's a plus. But people do come here with families, so don't worry about that. That's a very common thing. I'm actually the uncommon one. I haven't met anyone else in my situation, because I can just pick up and go, and it's no issue. So this is a dream job, and now this is why I say I should have got into it sooner. But because of my military experience, I kind of held off, because I felt like there was some me adjusting that I had to do before I would put myself in a situation like that again. But I am completely stoked and over the moon, and I'm literally, I can't wait to get out and do TNT, and then after that, because I know that's gonna fly by, because I love driving. You know, and Sean's seen firsthand how I am. I'm just chill, relax, and good to go. I'm in the zone.
Exactly. So I mean, and also when it comes to, especially being a veteran doing this, there is special veteran programs that Prime does have to where right now, and I stress to say right now, it is a contract that you only have to be here for 9 months. Yep. And then that's the end of your contract, as opposed to everybody else has to be here for 12. So there is that right now. Mm-hmm. So there is special consideration for veterans whenever it comes to that, and I'm sure that there might be some changes coming up here in the future.
Yeah.
But other than that, and basically I would even saying that was it. I appreciate you giving me the time.
Appreciate you having me.
But like I said, hey, congratulations. And like I said, if anybody wants to come out here and do what Steven did, hit me up. The link is going to be in the description, driveforprime.com. Always hit the subscribe bell if you guys like the content of what you're seeing. Give me an idea of some new content that you guys would like to see. But until next time, it's going to be Prime Time Fitz and Steven out. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you've always wanted to get your CDL but not knowing how to do it, I want you to go ahead and go to driveforprime.com. I'm a CDL instructor, and if you end up wanting to have me as your CDL instructor, go ahead and put my driver code on your application. And when you come in, we'll see if you can end up getting linked to me. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and ring that bell in that upper right-hand corner. That way that you'll end up knowing when I have new content coming out. Until then, drive safe.